Good morning from the U-Haul again. Today kicks off my fall shearing sets. I don't have nearly as many as I do in the spring, obviously. These are a lot of show sheep and long wools that I do in the fall. Part of that is, their show schedule. This one in particular is a commercial lamb and club lamb breeder that I'm gonna go shear for today, and she lambs very early in January, obviously for club lambs, and wants the ewe sheared and nice and clean for lambing. And I've got a couple long wools coming up in the next week or so to do just for fall cleanup and for show season. So this past weekend, was the first annual Pennsylvania Sheep and Wool Festival. They want to try and compete with places like New York and Maryland, so we can have the whole East Coast there on big fiber festivals. And I will say that this weekend's festival was very well put on for a first show. There's some criticisms, but that's with everything. With the first one, you go, you learn, you keep going. So this was approached to me last winter. I remember getting the first phone call when it was snowing and I was leaving from the warehouse up in Hudson and talking with the lady. So, it was short time frame that they put it all together, but I think they did really good. So it was supposed to start out as a small little fiber festival, like a local one, between Reclaim of Schmicksburg, which is Deanna, and Flower Hill Fleeces, which is one of my clients, Jody. And somehow it spiraled to the Pennsylvania Sheep and Wool Growers Association and turned into a state festival. So it was sponsored by our governing body for sheep, and it was very nice. There was a little bit more than 40 vendors. They had a small sheep show. They had herding dog demonstrations. They had sheep shearing demonstrations. They had shepherd seminars. They had hoof trimming, and it was really well put on. I like that they made it like a family event with having stuff for the kids to do, like sheep snuggling and crafts. And they had Lamb Olympics where you could rent a lamb to walk it through like this little agility obstacle course. It was really cute. So I'll give you my recap on that. So we hauled in Friday night, set up the girls. I took Pepper, Joy, and Wilma. It was supposed to be Coraline, but this was my fault. So my vet couldn't schedule a farm visit, so she couldn't come to the farm and check the sheep. So I had to load up 3 of the sheep a week beforehand and get what's called health papers, which normally need to be done within 30 days of whatever event you're doing. So that's just so the vet can look at them, take their temperature, give them a good once over, and say, I have examined these animals and they are healthy and clean. Well, they don't have to be clean, but they're healthy and safe to be in public. And when I did that, I thought I grabbed Coraline, and I didn't. I accidentally grabbed Wilma, so Wilma got to go instead of Coraline, which was my bad, because as much as Wilma is cute and everything, she is the smallest sheep in my flock, and her fleece is, she doesn't have the nicest fleece in my flock, and she had a little bit of wool break on her back, so she had burrs. But she was there, and she's very friendly. All of my sheep are very friendly, but that's not the sheep I wanted to take. But, so we set up the sheep, and then Saturday it felt like I ran a marathon. I got guilted / coerced into showing my sheep in the sheep show. Never showed sheep before, but it was just Pepper and Joy in their class for late yearling white medium wool sheep. So I drug Joy in, and a young lady helped me show Pepper, Joy got first, Pepper got second, so we got a first and a second. We're gonna ignore the fact that they were the only two in the class. But I got a blue ribbon for my sheepies. And then the judge called me a tunis. I might have snapped at him because they're not tunis. Like, he looked at their fleece. He should know they're not tunis. But anyway, I digress. He said, judging this class of tunis, and I popped my head up after, setting Joy back up, and I said, not tunis, these are California Reds. He's like, oh, sorry, I've never actually seen them in person. I'm like, cool. But so, I'm gonna pause here and put the clip that Dwayne took of me showing the sheeps and the judge talking and everything. So here's me showing some sheep, which is completely out of my realm and the first time I've ever done such things.
evaluate California Reds, my apologies. California Reds. For our drive here in the medium division, we're going to use the bigger barrel, bigger chested female, and one that just has a bit more capacity for us today. She's bigger, wider, thicker across that top. I think she's carrying a bit more leg. When you crack open that fleece, for me, it's just a little bit cleaner, it's a little bit more consistent from front to rear. I like the cleanliness of this one's fleece as well. We come into that ewe there in second place position. I may prefer her in terms of her breed character a little bit better. I like this. She's got that clear top of the head to her. I like the coloration to her. I like the red color that she's got to those legs and that head. They just didn't match up on the body compared to that ewe up front. But for me today, she's just a little bit on the smaller side. If we can change her so slightly, I'd like to bring that tail head up. I'd like to get her level out across that top. I'd like to give her a bit more extension up throughout that front end as well. But she is the one that's really balanced really well in terms of her body and her structure, and she's got a long loin, but I think she just simply gets out powered to get ahead of that one up front this here today. Congratulations.
So yeah, I guess I can say I've showed sheep now. Eons ago, when I was at Ohio State, they host a competition called Master Showman, and you can show every species you want, and the person who places the highest in the most classes wins Master Showman. So, like, you can show a dairy cow, a beef cow, a hog, a goat, a sheep, and a horse, and whoever places the highest through that, you know, or the most, wins. And one year I showed a beef cow, a dairy cow, a hog, and a horse. I avoided the small ruminants as per my normal, and did win Master Showman, but I've never showed a sheep. I showed goats a little bit in 4-H, but those were like meat goats before like they took off here in the States. So, so now I can say I've officially shown sheep. Might be a little itchy to maybe see what my lammies look like this spring and maybe take them to a couple other, wool-based shows. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to jump in like too far, but the more I can get the California Reds out there, the more chance they have of surviving as a breed. So we showed the sheep, we did the things, and then I did a seminar. I did my Wild Wonderful Wool. I did take a video of that. I might put it in here. I might upload it as something separate so it doesn't take 4 days to upload like it did last week. But I forgot a couple products when I did that, so we did the seminar, and then from the seminar I literally boxed that up, dropped stuff off, and went and did shearing demos. In true normal fashion, I forgot to set up my camera for my first shearing demonstration on Saturday, but I did remember on Sunday, so I get credit for that. So Sunday, we did the same thing. Well, not all the same thing. We didn't show sheep. There was a breed parade. I think Dan Turner of the Pennsylvania Sheep and Wool might have walked my sheep in the breed parade, because it was originally scheduled for 11, but because of the rain, we didn't have a big crowd. But we knew there was at least 2 tour buses coming to the festival, so we pushed it back to 1, and while I was in my seminar, they did the breed parade, and they said that there was a very nice turnout for that. The little arena was full to watch all the sheeps come through. This was a fun show because these were a lot of vendors and people that I've learned with through this experience of starting the fiber festivals and everything, and a lot of people that I know fairly well. Like I was right next to Hopping Acres with her Leicester Longwools and her little felted animals. That little red felted sheep that I held when I announced that I was purchasing sheep is actually a Tunis sheep, but whatever, close enough. And but I call it a California Red, close enough. I'll give the judge a little bit of leeway with that. I mean, they're really close. California Reds were developed using Tunis and Barbados Blackbelly, so they do get confused an awful lot for Tunis. But I was next to her all weekend. She was also Katja's breeder, the livestock guardian dog that Drew had that we had to rehome. So I got to catch up with her. Sarah Beamer was there. She's another lady shearer that raises Kerry Hill sheep, which aren't very common at all here in the United States. And who else was there that I knew?
Watch out, vehicle on shoulder ahead.
Waze, you need to be quiet. Lone Pine Farms with their Gotlands were there. I met them at Central PA Festival this year. They're very nice. I got to talk with them and catch up with them. Heidi was there with her CBMs and Teeswaters. Prospect Mill was there with their Blueface Leicesters, so I got to catch up with them. There was just a lot of people there. Sterling Mills was there. I got to catch up with Beth. Chicken Knits was there. Oh, and Rachel and Renee were there. I ran over and saw them before the chaos started. They emceed the Sheep to Shaw thing that went, or it wasn't Sheep to Shaw, Fleece to Shaw. There's a difference. I got to see them. I took a picture with them. I love them. They were there in their ranunculuses, and they ended up taking a picture. If you go over to their Instagram, everybody that had a ranunculus on, they met up and took a picture underneath the banner. So overall, it was a great show. I wish Sunday was a little bit as busy as Saturday was, but again, first time show. We're gonna learn, we're gonna grow, it'll be fine. Everybody was a little leery about it, And I said, well, I'm gonna go, and if it's good, it's good. If it's not, I can say I was there to watch it burn down, but it didn't burn down. So we'll see what next year holds. Hopefully it'll get a little bit bigger, a little bit better. So I am headed down here somewhere in West Virginia. I don't really remember where, but headed down here into West Virginia to shear. And then tomorrow I work all day, and then Thursday I pack up and head north to Rhinebeck. So if anybody is headed to Rhinebeck, come visit us. We're in the upper part of barn number 22 with Ross Farm Fibers. And I'm gonna try and go it's early. If the booth isn't completely chaos, I was gonna try and run up on top of the hill for the stitch marker swap. I'm actually going to remember my stitch markers this time. And I'm gonna run up with the podcaster meetup too. So if anybody's at Rhinebeck and wants to say hi, I will be at both those places. The rest of the time, my happy butt and Kuya will be in the upper part of barn 22 slinging the yarn. So I'm gonna post some shearing videos of some commercial ewes, and I'll talk to you guys next week about how Rhinebeck went. So have a happy day, and I'll see y'all later.
I have like a minute till I'm supposed to start, but I'll start talking now. So my name is Melinda Walmsley. I'm from Washington, Pennsylvania, which is about 45 minutes south of Pittsburgh, 45 minutes north of Morgantown, 45 minutes east of Wheeling. And I travel all up and down the East Coast, and as of last week, all the way over to California to shear sheep. I've been doing this for about 6 years, and I'm still learning. Still trying to figure this all out. But if you would have asked me when I was in high school if shearing sheep was a functionable income, I would have laughed at you. I also have a master's degree from Ohio State University in ruminant production management with specialty in ruminant production or ruminant nutrition. And I actually put zeros on any sheep lab we had because I didn't want to deal with sheep. And now this is what I do for a living. I see the humor in it too. But that being said, so does anybody know why we have to shear sheep? Anybody?
They'll get mad at.
They do get mad at. Do you know why they get mad?
Because they're sticky.
Kind of. So 8,000 to 10,000 years ago, sheep all shed like the Katahdins and the Dorpers that we see now in commercial production management. So over that 8,000 to 10,000 years, humans decided, I don't want to have to go chase and pick up fiber off of all the shrubs and everything that the sheep would run around, and we bred for them to keep that fleece. So this year I came up with the greatest analogy that I figured out how to explain this. It was to a group of Boy Scouts at a camp. So imagine every Easter you get a brand new hand-knit sweater, right? The only problem is you cannot take that sweater off until next Easter, but only if somebody helps you take it off. If somebody does not help you take it off, you get to put another one on. So now you have 2 sweaters on until next Easter. If nobody helps you next Easter, now you have 3 on. Now can you imagine the problem now? It's going to start getting hard to breathe. It's going to get hard to move around. It's going to get hard to eat. You're not going to want to eat. You're going to be real hot. Okay? So that's where my job lies, is it's my job to take this off because this is a man-made problem that we've bred these guys to keep this fleece. Okay? There are some breeds of sheep that are wool sheep, like we've got some Shetlands up there in the breed display. They do what's called brewing. So sometime around the vernal equinox in the spring, when they get enough daylight, because they are photosensitive, their wool will stop growing for like a week or so. Okay? And then after that, it will naturally fall off. Now, that's really cool if you have like 2 or 3 sheep, because you can just go and it literally just peels back. So you can start up here and you just work it back, and it's got a wool break, so it just peels off. And then you can process the fiber just like you would any other. The problem is, not everybody does it the same week. So if you have a herd like one of my clients out in Catania, where you have 75 Shetlands running around, that's not feasible. Like, I'm not going to chase 75 sheep around for weeks on end and picking up fluff everywhere. So that's why we still shear those breeds. So it's a management issue where we want to get it all done, all in one day, done, over with, move on, next project. So how I normally do these, and I have 4 to do for this afternoon, is I'll shear a sheep, go over how we process it from there, we'll put it in the bag, I'll answer any questions, and I'll move on to the next one, okay? I'm also going to mute my mic because nobody wants to hear me huff and puff while I do this. For shearing. I back on? There we go. Okay, so that was that lamb's very first shearing.
Oh, wow.
So that was the little bit of trauma she was having. What are you doing? Who are you? Why are you touching me? So as a shearer, there are two phrases that I absolutely hate to hear and actually make me visibly cringe. One is, it's a bottle baby. Okay, so like we've been breeding sheep forever, right? They were one of the first animals we domesticated. And everybody knows about fight or flight, right? Okay. We've been breeding sheep for fight, flight, or freeze. We capitalize on the freeze, that's why when I put her on her butt, she just goes, oh crap. I don't know what to do. Okay? But when we have show lambs or bottle lambs that we pick up and carry around and bottle feed and play with, they don't care anymore. And bottle lambs, she was a peach actually. That wasn't bad. Bottle lambs will make, like, I had a Chevy bottle lamb this year, kicked me in my jaw so hard that I had to go get a crown put on a tooth. So they're not my favorite. They'll make me cringe. But so her fleece is very fine, and it doesn't really have, not knocking on her, I promise, but the density isn't there because she's a lamb. So as she gets older, that density, so the fibers per inch is going to grow. So at some point, we'll be able to pick up her fleece all in one big sheet. But a lamb fleece, because it's so fine and it's not as dense as it's going to eventually be, just kind of does this thing. Which makes it really nice for spinning because if you can see all the little crimpies, like it looks like miniature crinkle cut french fries. Okay? And those are beautiful. But hard to deal with as a shearer part. Once it gets to the spinner and stuff, great. My job makes it hard. So normally from here we would skirt it, but these are show sheep, so they're pretty clean as it is, so we don't have to skirt much. I'm just gonna roll it into this bag so it doesn't get dirty or lost. It stays out of the sand. So from here it would go to a processor or to a spinner and go become something. So before I do the next one, any questions?
What's your secret for the backache that you inevitably have at the end of the day?
So here's the fun part about this. So my name is Boss Mare Shearing. That comes from my very first horse, who was a Polish Arab, and she was very, very rude. I actually have 2 torn discs in my lower back. Not from this, from horses and other stupid decisions I made earlier in my life. But my chiropractor and Allegheny General Hospital, who does my back injections, both agree that this actually helps. Because it's creating space back here. So at work they laughed that I'm this flexible. But I'm like this for the better part of the year. So my back doesn't hurt, it's this right here. Because if you watch, I'm not moving the sheep with my arms. I'm using my knees and my ankles to move the sheep around. So that's what inevitably hurts, is my hamstrings, really. Any other questions?
What is skirting?
Skirting, okay. So on one of these, I hope to be able to show you. So when the shearer is done with the fleece, the skirting people or the wool handler is going to take the fleece, throw it out on a big table, and we're going to go around the skirt of the fleece. We're going to take any dirty, like lanolin tags, and like sometimes in their armpits, in the creases of their legs, lanolin kind of builds up there. That's not really good wool. It's gross. So we're going to cut that, well, pull it out, throw it off to the side in a little, up pile. Any belly wool that we see, any second cuts that we can obviously see, any vegetable matter, so breakfast that they left on their back or their neck, we're going to try and pull that out. Any of the manure tags off of their back end, because not everybody's a hand spinner. Like, I'm not taking these fleeces home and processing them myself. I'm going to box them up and send them to a fiber mill to deal with. I don't want to have to pay to ship poop. Okay? I went to my ex-husband, but not to the fiber mill. Okay? Somebody else had a question.
Are there special shoes you prefer?
So a lot of my friends, because the shearing community is this big, Okay, we all know each other, we all talk to each other. There's just one Facebook group that we all talk to, okay? Most of us prefer, like these are zeros, so no drop. Because when you have that heel, that means you're bent over up on your toes. Most of them shear in leather moccasins. I don't like the leather moccasins because I don't always get to shear in nice dry places, or in, like, I'm sure everybody's watched the videos where they have like the fancy shearing station, where they're up on a platform, they grab the sheep, shear it, throw it back down in the hole. That's not where I am. I'm in somebody's backyard. I'm in a manure pit. I'm in a shed. So I like my zeros because, you know, they're flat and they're wide. So I was shearing for a little while in, what are those, arid terrains, but even that itty bitty heel was causing one heck of a pain in the back of my legs. So flat is good. Barefoot's better. Yep.
How often do you have to shear a sheep?
So it depends on what your end goal is. So some people shear once a year, normally in the spring. These are all show sheep, so we're shearing them now, so come springtime festivals, they have a nice set of fleece to go into that show ring again. This is their last show for the year, okay? So most of them we shear once a year. Now long wools, CBMs are technically a long wool, but like the Leicester long wool, the border Leicester, they can grow upwards of 18 inches of fiber in a year, okay? The reason we cut them twice a year is because the production mills can't handle anything more than like 8 or 10 inches of fiber. So we cut it twice a year so it can still end up at the processor and get fiber made so their machinery can still function with it. If you're a hand spinner, 18 inches is great. You can sit there long draw and just keep on going. Just zen out and keep spinning.
How did they cut shear the sheep before your electric clippers? Oh.
I have not attempted this yet.
Okay.
I bought a pair. I have not grown brave enough to try such things yet. There's a gentleman in Vermont that still teaches this. He's getting very, very up there in age. I want to say he's in his 80s. He's still teaching this once a year. I already made my reservation to go there.
Okay.
Hoping that he makes it through the winter. Just because this is nice to know how to do for historical events and stuff, and the awe factor of watching somebody do this. I've just not been brave enough to do it yet.
It looks dangerous.
A little bit. I mean, they're not pointy, but it makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
I don't want to screw up a fleece on somebody else's shoes. I'll practice on mine.
Yeah.
Any other questions before I go to the next one?
So, when you're shearing, does it matter, like, some of the sheep had the crimpy fur, like the Gotland sheep, or does that change what you do at all, or not?
No. No, it's the same pattern over and over again. I mean, if you watch the first one, I'm going to do the same thing on the second one and the third one. So it doesn't matter if they're short wool, long wool. Sometimes I get called out to do a hair sheep. I'll roll them around the same way, make sure they don't have any weird hair anywhere. So, and that's how we get faster and faster. Right now, I'm going very slow, so you guys get to see the whole process. If I was at a farm and I was doing these, time is money for me. I might have 3 or 4 farms in a day. I might have, 5 here, 10 there, 20 there, but I got to get going. So right now, there's a hair somewhere. I'm somewhere between 2.5 to 3 minutes a sheep. Now you all said, oh wow, okay. World record for speed shearing right now is 34 seconds. I am never gonna be there. I don't have plans to ever be there. That just looks dangerous to me. Like those guys, like the horn blows and they're done. And by the time they're done, I would still be going, where's my blades? No. And then world record with hand shears is 1 minute and 48 seconds to do that, because that's a competition too. That's not my jam. I'm worried about getting the fleece off all nice one piece so the hand spinners and fiber producers have a very nice fleece to go to the processor. Because there is such thing as a bad shearer. We don't talk about that. Any other questions before I go to the next one? Okay. Again, I'm going to turn this off because nobody wants to hear me huff and puff.
That's cheesy.
Sometimes it's all in personality too. Like this, they're the same age. This one just was like, okay, whatever.